By the 1950s, the struggling young abstract artists from the 1940s were finally getting some recognition. They participated in more and more exhibitions, both at home and abroad. Abstraction was in, and abstract expressionism would become the dominant style of the decade. The action painters approached painting with a rough and tumble ferocity. They applied paint with an intense spontaneity. Looking at their work, you can almost follow the interplay of artist and material as they bob and weave around the canvas. But there were other artists exploring abstraction that had different concerns. Their interests were in color and its emotional effects. Their paintings, often quite large, would envelop the viewer in swatches of both brilliant and subtle colors. While viewing the paintings of the action painters was like going on a visual treasure hunt, the color field painters invited contemplation. Sometimes known as the lyrical abstraction, the surface of these paintings frequently consisted of layers of thin, atmospheric paint. Often the artist would pour the paint on the canvas, working on the floor much like Pollock. While critic Harold Rosenberg was partial to the action painters, Clement Greenberg championed the early color field painters like Rothko, Frankenthaler, Louise, and Noland. Greenberg called it post-painterly abstraction. Abstract expressionism was a typically modern movement. There was a certain anxiety, suffering, and drama in the work of these artists. They were after existential truth and explored what they thought were universal archetypes. There were personal tragedies as well. Gorky and Rothko committed suicide. Pollock was killed in a car accident. Many of these artists struggled with alcoholism and dealt with dysfunctional relationships with each other as husbands, wives, and lovers. The next generation of American painters would begin to separate themselves from the seriousness and stress of early abstract expressionism. While abstraction remains an active interest for many artists, new styles and trends like pop art, minimalism, hard-edge painting, and neo-dada would usher in the 1960s.